I'm using Chicago to tell a story that is very familiar to people who live in big urban areas.
She's a fantastic reporter covering all kinds of stuff on the South Side, public housing. The new book is really fantastic. I haven't gotten to read a lot of it yet, but she told great stories today about various tales of integration, growing up on the South Side, and what it's like to come back to the South Side as an adult and try to fit in and watch the neighborhood as it moves around. She did a fantastic job, I think, engaging the audience. Huge audience here tonight. From my perspective as Vice President of Programming of the Chicago Headline Club, we were really pleased with the number of people that came out today. It was really fantastic. Full house, standing room only, lots of really engaged questions, lots of people that were really interested in the topic. It was really fantastic, and we really enjoyed and love to see that kind of turnout, especially on a rainy night.
Bronzeville and Hyde Park are a study in contrast, even though they are only a 10-minute car ride away from each other. In Hyde Park, I can walk to multiple grocery stores, restaurants deliver. I can walk to order takeout, deposit money at a bank, listen to live music, eat at a white linen bistro. I'm almost dizzy from options. I love Hyde Park. Surprisingly, I veered from hood fatigue to hood withdrawal. I don't feel guilt, but the transition, I admit, makes me sound like a hayseed. I find myself returning to 47th Street for pedicures and oil changes when I can now get either a mere blocks away. I still support small businesses, small black-owned businesses in less resourced nearby neighborhoods because they need deliberate patronage to stay in business. But for my financial sanity and overall peace of mind, Hyde Park has been the best decision for our family. My journey led me here. I thought to myself, let me give integration a whirl.
Not only is she telling the stories of the South Side, but she's also contributing to the South Side and pointing out some things that maybe people haven't heard before.
So. A lot of times, white writers get to write about our communities. Not that they don't always do a good job, or whether it's magazines or books, but I don't think we always hear enough of our voices telling our stories from our communities. So that motivated me to have the personal touch. I'm not an observer. I'm completely invested and also reflective, and understand why so that's why my grandparents did that. Well, that's why my parents did that.
When it comes to journalism, there's a lot of people who aren't from these communities or who are not African American who are writing about the South Side. So I'm looking forward to seeing someone who was born and raised from there, hearing their perspective, and I think it'll be very authentic. I think the biggest thing about the South Side is that people don't like people talking about the South Side if you're not from the South Side, and Natalie's born and raised, so I think that it'll be well received, and I hope everyone reads it.
I'm not trying to speak for all Southsiders, and I'm very clear about that, but I think there's some shared experiences regardless of age, class, upbringing that is going to be relatable. I don't ignore class, but when you talk about segregation, it's racial because they're black middle class neighborhoods. It's not just poor black people who are segregated. They may suffer the most acute when it comes to high poverty, unemployment, and crime, but segregation affects you no matter what your income is. It affects what kind of services you have in your community. It affects what kinds of retail you have in your community. It affects city services. It affects your home buying power and how banks are going to treat you. It's not a book that I knew that I was going to write, but sometimes the stories come to you and you take a journey and you realize where you end up, and that's what the story is.